guys. Hi, y'all. Good morning. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Y'all, look at my nail. This is a mess. Good morning, you guys. Hello. Happy Thursday. Okay. This message, particularly, not the whole video, but I'm just giving an intro. This is for the people who's going to watch this live after the actual broadcast. So, good morning. Welcome to the channel. My name is Jasmine, and the name of the channel is called Where Things Grow, where we are over here growing in Christ and all of the things. Okay. If that is something that you are interested in, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and as always, share these videos on your social media platform because you are not the only one who needs to hear this word. Also, leave me a comment down below saying, hey, Jazz, okay? And y'all, we are going to go on ahead and get into the video, okay? I have my peppermint tea here with me. As y'all can probably tell, it is freshly brewed. So yeah, it is steaming and I cannot drink it because, girl, if we drunk that, honey, we would have third-degree burns, okay? But yes, you guys, so I decided to come do some Bible study because we did Bible study the other day. I think it was 2 days ago now. And y'all, ever since doing that, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And also, whenever we was doing Bible study, which we talked about Jonah, by the way, so definitely check that out. But whenever we were doing Bible study, you guys, I just felt like there was just this level of like peace that I had, like happiness. It felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. So with the channel, you know, there are moments where I really do struggle as far as like what to do next, how to do things here on the channel. Struggle with hoping that God is happy with the way I'm doing things and all of that. You know, always asking God for his guidance and leadership. And he definitely has been guiding and leading me, and he continues to. So I just really paid attention, though, to how I felt, you know, with doing the Bible study, because everything I do is for the Lord. Like everything I do, I want to glorify the Lord. And so when I'm doing something and maybe I don't have the most positive feeling about it, it could be a couple of things. It could be maybe I'm just being too hard on myself, you know, or the enemy, you know, is just trying to put intrusive thoughts in my head. Or it could just simply be, it's not quite, um, in line with what God wants me to do, if that makes any sense. So I'm sure God is proud of me. Obviously, God told me to start this channel, you guys, but with doing the Bible study the other day, I just felt something different. I felt something different about it. And I absolutely love to read, you know, period. But the Bible is one of my all-time favorite books, you guys. It has every genre in there you can think of: crime, you know, self-help, love stories, hope. You know, it basically helps with your mental health. Like, y'all, everything that you need can be found in the scriptures, but you have to be willing to go there, okay? So yes, we're going to be in the Holy Bible today. We're always in the Amplified version, okay? Always in the Amplified version. And I think the Lord is calling me to talk about Esther today. I feel like that. I just started reading Ezra yesterday. So, you know, next is Nehemiah, and then after that is Esther. So I think we're going to go on ahead and get into Esther today, you guys. So yes, I really hope y'all enjoy this video. So what I'm gonna do is, y'all give me one moment. Okay. What we're gonna do, um, yeah, so what, so you guys, what we are about to do is we are going to go on ahead and get into the scriptures, okay? That's crazy. What's going on over here? Oh, how do we cut this down, honey? Because we don't have time for that. Yeah, I need this to be down. Okay, you guys. So, y'all, we are about to get into it. And I wasn't sure if this was the right time to go live, but it's fine. Y'all will see this a little bit later. All right, so let's go on ahead right now, you guys, and we're going to get into Esther today. The last Bible study that we did, just to kind of summarize, is oh, let me turn on the waves. I like to listen to the waves when I'm reading because it relaxes me. So, yeah, so the last Bible study that we did, we covered Jonah. We read the entire book of Jonah. Jonah is only 4 chapters, you guys. Jonah is one of the more shorter books in the Bible. So yeah, but Jonah was really awesome. We talked about disobedience. We talked about like running away from the Lord. We talked about God's sovereignty. We covered all of that while reading Jonah. So today we are going to cover, we're going to talk about Esther. I feel like the Lord is leading me to talk about Esther. So that's what we're going to do. Let's talk about Esther, you guys, okay? So okay, great. So we have the waves going in the background. All right, you guys, so we are going to get into Esther, okay? All right, you guys, so just for reference, so Esther has a total of 10 chapters. So, I don't know, we may cover all of them today. We may break it up, but we're going to just read from Esther, you guys. And Esther, the book of Esther comes after the book of Nehemiah, and it comes before the book of Job, okay? So it's in between those two. All right, so again, the book of Esther. I am reading from the Amplified version, you guys. And yeah, I love the Amplified version. This is the Bible that I have, just to show you guys this. Give me one moment, you guys. I'm going to show y'all the Bible that I have, so that y'all can, kind of gauge. But this is the Bible that I have, the Holy Book, the Holy Bible, and we are in Esther and all of the things, okay? Okay. So let me turn the waves down because I don't want it to be too disruptive. Now, as a quick disclaimer, we all know that there are, the Bible, these names sometimes, I know for me personally, it trips me up, y'all. So just kind of bear with me a little bit, okay? So, the banquets of the king. It was in the days of Ahasuerus, Exer, okay, Exorus, who reigned from India to Ethiopia, Cush, over 127 provinces. In those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on his royal throne, which was at the citadel in Susa, which is the capital of the Persian Empire, in the 3rd year of his reign, he held a banquet for all his officials and his attendants, okay? Now, just to expand a little bit, so Ahasuerus' Greek name was Exorus. His Persian name was Kusharshan. Excuse me, y'all. Excuse me. So what the Amplified version does is it basically expands on like words and stuff like that. So that's what I'm reading. So okay, it's spelled Xerxes. So X ooh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's utilize our resources. Let's go to Google and see how to pronounce that, because y'all, I am struggling so bad and that's embarrassing. So we are going to use Google. That is what I do sometimes. Xes pronunciation, yeah. Xerxes. Oh, Xerxes. Okay. Yes, that's awesome. Okay. Got it. Xerxes. Let's see it again. Xerxes. Okay, Xerxes. Okay, I got it. Okay. All right. So Xerxes II, also known as Xerxes the Great, the son of Darius the Great, ruled 486 through 465 BC. He is the Xerxes who invaded Greece, was stopped temporarily at Thermopylae, defeated at the naval battle at Salamis, and nearly annihilated at Pla- mm, Plataea. The French excavations at Susa in 1880 through 1890 uncovered the great palace of Xerxes, where Esther would have lived. The building covered 2.5 acres. The finds at Susa from this period were so astonishing that the uh honey the y'all, these names, I'm so sorry. The let's get the pronunciation for this one too. Oh my goodness, y'all, use Google. Louvre pronunciation. uh what? Okay, let's see. Man, Lou with the re. Oh, so Louvre. Okay, got it. Louvre. Okay, Louvre. That the Louvre in Paris devoted 2 large rooms to the exhibition of the treasures. Xerxes' tomb, looted in antiquity, is believed to be among the rock-cut tombs located at Nakshi Rajab, an archaeological site in Iran, about 10 miles northwest of the site of ancient Persepolis. Y'all, please forgive me. These names sometimes, okay? So just bear with me. All right, and then a little bit more on Susa. So Susa is located about 150 miles east of the Tigris River. The site, now modern-day Shush or Shush, Iran, is considered to be one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities. An ancient tomb presumed to be that of Daniel is located in the area. Okay, so just a little bit more. So going back to the banquet, okay, so King Xerxes, which, Ahasuerus, he is having a banquet for all of his officials and his attendants, okay? The army officers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the officials of the provinces were there in his presence. So basically the who's who of the who's who. Everybody is at this banquet, okay? And he displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his great majesty for many days, 180 days in all, okay? When these days were completed, the king held a banquet for all the people who were present at the citadel in Susa, the capital, from the greatest and important to the least, a 7-day feast in the courtyard of the garden of the king's palace. There were curtains, draperies of fine white and violet linen fastened with cords of fine purple linen to silver rings and marble columns. The couches of gold and silver rested on a mosaic floor of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and precious colored stones. And just a little bit more on porphyry. It's an Egyptian rock of feldsparred crystals embedded in a dark red or purple ground mass used as flooring. Drinks were served in various kinds of golden goblets, and the royal wine was plentiful in accordance with the generosity of the king. The drinking was carried on in accordance with the law. No one was compelled to drink, for the king had directed each official of his household to comply with each guest's wishes. Queen Vashti also held a separate banquet for the women in the palace of King Ahasuerus. So just to kind of what's happening now is at the beginning of the book of Esther, the scene is being set, right? So we have King Xerxes, okay, Ahasuerus. He is simply yeah, he is having a banquet, okay? And so he's having this banquet for all of his officials and his attendants. Now, Queen Vashti, which ultimately is, his wife, she is having her own separate banquet for the women. And the army officers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the officials of the provinces were there in his presence. He displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his great majesty for many days, 180 days in all. So it's a lot going on. This is a big event. They have the best of the best, the who's who of the who here. The best of the best in terms of food, wine. Like, it's just a party. It's a good time. Okay, so that we're just setting the stage here. So on the seventh day, right, when the king's heart was joyful with wine, okay, meaning he was in high spirits, he commanded Mehuman, y'all, please forgive me, but Mehuman, Bista, Harbana, Bigtha, Abig, okay, Abagtha, Sethar, and Carcass, the seven eunuchs who served in the presence of King Ahasuerus as his attendants, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing her royal crown, which is her high turban, to display her beauty before the people and the officials, for she was lovely to see. So Queen Vashti was beautiful. Okay, let's just, be clear. And so her husband wants to bring her in the presence of all of the people because he wants her to show off her beauty. Okay, so just to expand a little bit more on the eunuchs, I may be saying that wrong too. Y'all listen, please work with me. Okay, so let's make sure we get the hold on, the pronunciation. Eunuchs pronunciation. Let's see. Eunuchs. Eunuchs?
Eunuchs.
Eunuchs. Okay, eunuchs. All right, you guys. So the eunuchs. Okay, so just to expand a little bit more on the eunuchs, eunuchs were the men who were placed in charge of the king's harem and for that reason had been castrated. Okay. So wearing her royal crown. So just to kind of expand on that a little bit more, according to Jewish tradition, Ahasuerus's guests demanded that Vashti be naked except for her royal turban to confirm that she was the queen and not just a servant girl. She pleaded with Ahasuerus using several arguments, one of which was that if the guests found her beautiful, they would want to ravish her and kill him, and if not, her lack of beauty would disgrace him. Okay. So he wanted her to come model, okay? He wanted her to come stand there with just her robe on and her crown and show her beauty in front of all of these people, okay? That's what he wanted it to give, right? So it says, but Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command, which was delivered to her by the eunuchs. So the king became extremely angry and burned with rage. Y'all, he was mad. He was mad. He was mad. And you know what? What I'm thinking is he probably was mad because of like his ego too. Like, how dare you tell me no? Like, you know what I'm saying? Along those lines. So then the king spoke to the wise men who understood the times. He was asking for their advice, for it was the custom of the king to speak before all those who were familiar with law and legal matters and who were close to him as advisors. So Karshena, Shathar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, the seven officials of Persia and Media who had access to the king and were ranked highest in the kingdom, he said, according to the law, what is to be done with Queen Vashti because she did not obey the command of King Ahasuerus, which was conveyed by the eunuchs? And Memucan answered in the presence of the king and the officials, Vashti the king has not only wronged the king, but also all the officials, royal representatives, and all the peoples who are in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. Okay. So y'all, I don't know. I think I'm feeling like King Ahasuerus. This is just my little like speculation, but I don't know. I feel like I mean, obviously he was a king, but it's giving that he kind of had like some ooh, I can finally drink my tea now. But it kind of feels like he probably had some ego stuff going on with him. Like, I don't know, like ego issues. And this is peppermint tea, by the way, y'all. Yum. But yeah, so I don't know. Let me put you guys on the charger. Make sure no one goes dead. There we go. All right. So at this point, he has his officials, basically the highest ranking people in the kingdom, come before him. And so he's asking, you know, what should I do with her? You know, she didn't listen to me. She's basically disrespected me. She did not obey my command. Um, and it says, and then his one of his people said, well, she not only wronged the king, but also all the officials and all the peoples who were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. And it's just like, y'all are asking my girl Vashti, which I side with her. I completely side with her. And you know, some may say it's because I'm a woman, but no, it's just because, you know, she didn't like, I don't, obviously she wasn't comfortable, you know, and no, she just didn't want to do any of the things. Okay, so and I definitely don't blame her. So I'm with Vashti on this one, and I love her name, by the way, Vashti. But anyways, excuse me, for the queen's conduct will become known to all women, causing them to look on their husbands with contempt, disrespect, since they will say, King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she did not come. So again, it's just some ego going on here, some pride going on as well. And then I guess they're concerned that other women will kind of, you know, speak up for themselves too. Like other women will say, absolutely not. Other women will say, yes, I'm not going to do this. They'll take a stand, you know, so they're kind of concerned a little bit. So this very day, the ladies of Persia and Media, who have heard of the queen's refusal to speak in the same way to all the king's officials, and there will be plenty of contempt and This very day, the ladies of Persia and Media, who have heard of the queen's refusal, will speak to all the king's officials, and there will be plenty of contempt and anger. If it pleases the king, let a royal command be issued by him, and let it be written in the laws of the Persians and Medes, the Medes, it may be saying that wrong, y'all, so that it cannot be repealed or modified, that Vashti is no longer to come before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal position to another who is better and more worthy than she. Okay, so just to expand on that a little, where it says no longer can Vashti come before the king, the intent may have been simply to confine Vashti to the king's harem and put another wife on the throne. The ancient rabbi said, however, that when the king accepted the advice, he ordered that Vashti be beheaded and her head brought to him on a platter. Now, I don't remember reading about Vashti being beheaded, but I will keep reading, but I don't remember that. But wow, that's kind of harsh, but okay. So at this point, they want to put a royal command out to say that Vashti is no longer allowed to come before the king, and that the king will give her royal position to another who is better and more worthy than she. Okay, so when the king's great decree is proclaimed throughout his extensive kingdom, all women will give honor to their husbands, from the great to the insignificant. This statement advice pleased the king and the officials, and the king did what Memucan proposed. So he sent letters to all the royal provinces, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, saying that every man should be the master and rule in his own home, and that he should speak in the household in the language of his own people. And just to expand a little bit more on he should speak, in recognition of the position of her husband, a foreign-born wife was to speak his language. All right, so after these things happen, right, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus, y'all, we just learned how to pronounce this word. Xerxes? Is that how they said it? Xerxes? Oh my goodness. Okay, so King Ahasuerus, Xerxes, like this is interchangeable, y'all. Okay, so he had okay, let's reread. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. Then the king's attendants who served him said, let beautiful young virgins be sought for the king. Okay, so at this point, he's seeking out some virgins, some beautiful young ones too. Okay. because Vashti has completely overstepped her boundaries, and he is just feeling some type of way, and it is just he needs someone else at this point. Okay. I hope y'all are following me. All right, so let the king appoint administrators in all the provinces of his kingdom and have them gather all the beautiful young virgins to be citadel versions to the citadel in Susa into the harem under the custody of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women, and let their beauty preparations be given to them. Then let the young woman who pleases the king be queen. Y'all, why can't I read today? Then let the young woman who pleases the king be queen in place of Vashti. This pleased the king, and he did accordingly. There was a certain Jew in the citadel of Susa whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been deported from Jerusalem with the captives who had been exiled with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had exiled. He was the guardian of Hadash, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had no father or mother. The young woman was beautiful of form and face, and when her father and mother died, Mordecai took her in as his own daughter. Okay, so just to expand a little bit more on Hadassah, that's what it says, Hadassah. This word, the Hebrew word, means myrtle. Okay. And so to expand a little bit more on face, like where it says the young woman was beautiful of form and face, meaning good of appearance. So Esther was beautiful. Okay. So basically, this is where Mordecai and Esther are introduced in the story. So once again, Esther is a Benjamite. Okay. And yeah, he's a Jew, but he's a Benjamite, and he had been deported from Jerusalem with the captives who had been exiled with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, again, he exiled. All right, so he was the guardian of Esther. All right, and that's his uncle's daughter. Okay, she had no father and mother. And basically, when her father and mother died, Mordecai took her in as his own daughter. Okay. Now, so it came about when the king's command and his decree were proclaimed, and when many young women were gathered together in the citadel of Susa into the custody of Haggai, that Esther was taken to the king's palace and placed in the custody of Haggai, who was in charge of the women. Now the young woman pleased Haggai and found favor with him. So he quickly provided her with beauty preparations and her portion of food, and he gave her 7 choice maids from the king's palace. Then he transferred her and her maids to the best place in the harem. Okay. Esther did not reveal the Jewish background of her people to her family, of her people or her family, for Mordecai had instructed her not to do so. Every day, Mordecai, who was an attendant in the king's court, walked back and forth in front of the courtyard of the harem to learn how Esther was getting along and what was happening to her. Now, when it was each young woman's turn to go before King Ahasuerus, after the end of her 12 months under the regulations for the women, for the days of their beautification were completed as follows: 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet spices and perfumes and the beauty preparations for women. Then the young woman would go before the king in this way. Anything that she wanted was given her to take with her from the harem into the king's palace. In the evening, she would go in, and the next morning, she would return to the second harem to the custody of. And just to expand a little bit on the second harem, evidently to keep track of all the women, the first harem was uh, comprised only of those who had not yet had personal relations with the king, while those who had were transferred to the second harem. Okay, so in the evening she would go in, and the next morning she would return to the second harem to the custody of the uh, Shash Shashgags, the king's eunuchs, who was in charge of the concubines. She would not return to the king unless he delighted in her and she was summoned by name. Now, as for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her in as his own daughter, when he turned when her turn came to go into the king, she requested nothing except that Haggai, the king's eunuch and attendant, who was in charge of the woman, advised. Wait, what? Okay, and Esther found favor in the sight of all who saw her. So Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus to his royal palace in the 10th month, that is the month of Tebeth, December, January, and the 7th year of his reign. Okay. All right, y'all. So that was a lot. Okay. So basically here is where we're just talking about, like, where in the scripture it's talking about, the process that these women are going through. Okay. So they basically, get their beauty preparations. Um, they get 7 maids as well. Uh, and then Mordecai at this point is checking on Esther, just to make sure she's okay and kind of keeping up with, the keeping track of what's going on with her. Um, and yeah, then they have the first harem and the second harem and all of the things. So that, I hope you guys are following me with this. So let's just continue reading. Okay. Because this story gets good, y'all. This gets good. So Esther becomes queen. So now the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she found favor and kindness with him more than all the other virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen in the place of Vashti. Then the king held a great banquet, Esther's banquet, for all his officials and his servants, and he made a festival for the provinces and gave gifts in accordance with the resources of the king. Okay, just to expand a little bit more on festivals, the festival for the provinces. Basically, it was a release from taxes. So the meaning of the Hebrew word is uncertain. Yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, and when the virgins were gathered together the second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. All right, and the phrase sitting at the king's gate implies that Mordecai was some sort of an official in the service of the king. Esther had not revealed her family or her people, that is, her Jewish background, just as Mordecai had instructed her. For Esther did what Mordecai told her, just as when she was under his care. So Mordecai saves the king. In those days, while Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, 2 of the king's eunuchs who guarded the door, became angry and conspired to attack King Ahasuerus. So let's expand on that a little bit more. The reasons for their anger is never explained. The ancient rabbis suggested that the king had replaced them with Mordecai, whom they considered a barbarian. And when it says conspired to attack King Ahasuerus, that means sought to lay hands on him. But the plot became known to Mordecai, who informed Queen Esther, and Esther told the king in Mordecai's name. Now, when the plot was investigated and found to be true, both men were hanged on the gallows, and it was recorded in the book of the Chronicles in the king's presence. Okay. Now, just to expand a little bit more on hanged on the gallows or impaled on a stake, it is uncertain which method was used. Okay. So Haman's plot against the Jews. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, who advanced him and established his authority over all the officials who were with him. Now, 3, the Agagite. So let's kind of expand on the Agagite a little bit more. So the origin of this ethnic term is unclear. It probably refers to descendants of King Agag of the Amalekites, who were long-standing tribal enemies of the Jews. If so, it would explain the natural animosity between Haman and Mordecai. All right, so we got Mordecai, who's Jewish. We have Haman, who is an Agagite, which is short for Agag, okay? Now, remember, y'all, going back with King Saul, okay? Remember when the Lord had told King Saul to completely annihilate King Agag, and all his people, like everything, just completely get rid of him, completely get rid of everything. And Saul did not do that. You know, that was a part of Saul's, the reason why he fell. He did not follow God's instruction, okay? And I'm sure this was like hundreds of years before we get to Esther. So going back to what we talked about in the last video, like when we're disobedient, you guys, our disobedience is going to affect other people. So had Saul gotten rid of, okay, the Agag and his crew back then, you know, we may not be reading about this particular situation, but nonetheless, God will still use our disobedience and shenanigans for his glory. And that is what happens in the story of Esther. But excuse me, what I've learned is that when we're reading in the scriptures and we just see different things, you know, God doesn't waste words, and there are reasons why certain things are mentioned. So, excuse me, him being Haman being an Agite is a key thing, and Mordecai being a Jew is a key thing too, because you know there was always that rift between them. So yeah. All right, so all the king's servants who were at the king's gate in royal service bowed down and honored and paid homage to Haman. For this is what the king had commanded in regard to him. But Mordecai, a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin, neither bowed down nor paid homage to him. Then the king's servants who were at the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why are you disregarding the king's command?" Now it happened when they had spoken to him day after day, and he would not listen to them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's reason for his behavior would stand as valid, for he had told them that he was a Jew. Okay, so basically, you know, Mordecai at this point, he's just refusing to bow down and essentially worship almost Haman. He's not doing that. He's a Jew, so he believes in the one true God, okay, the God of Israel, the God of Isaac, Abraham, our God, okay. Now, this particular book, right, this particular story, testimony of Esther, we don't see God's name mentioned in this testimony. We don't see. But we know that God is working all throughout this testimony and this story, okay? And so God caused there to be, because we know that God either causes something to happen or he allows something to happen. So God caused Vashti to say no to the king so that he could find someone else to replace her. And then God didn't just find any old body, okay? Esther was chosen by the Lord, okay? Mordecai as well. Esther being a Jew, Mordecai being a Jew, their background um, isn't like a coincidence either. So God's fingers is all throughout our lives, was all throughout their lives, their testimony. God is, his hand is always in the mix, and he is always going to get the glory out of the story. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. So okay, so pick back up where we left off, y'all. All right, so we're at Haman, and he's mad basically and feeling some type of way because Mordecai isn't, you know, bowing down. So when Haman saw that Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage to him, he was furious. But he disdained laying hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him who the people of Mordecai were, his nationality. So Haman determined to destroy all the Jews, the people of Mordecai, who lived throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus. So Haman is so angry, y'all. Instead of him saying, you know what, Mordecai, I'm just going to destroy you. You know, this is ridiculous. You will not bow down. You will not respect me. You are disrespecting me intentionally, on purpose, not by mistake. I'm just going to get you and get you on up out of here. No. Haman is so enraged that because he knows that Mordecai is Jewish, and because there's been this long-standing rival and rift between the Jews, you know, and the Agagites, the Amalekites, rather, he's like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all of you. Okay, so y'all follow the story, okay? So Haman determined to destroy all the Jews, the people of Mordecai, who lived throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus. In the first month, the month of Nisan, which is like March, April, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, Haman cast pur, that is the lot, cast before him day after day to find a lucky day to approach the king, month after month, until the 12th month, the month of Adar, which is like February, March. And then just to expand a little bit more in the 12th year, it says at this time Esther had been queen about 4 or 5 years. So basically at this point, Haman has cast a lot so that he can determine when he's going to destroy the Jews. And so it landed, on the 12th month. Okay, so in 12 months, the Jews are going to be annihilated. They're going to be destroyed. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. So we see where God is creating this gap of time. Okay, because if this is something that the Lord was in favor of, he could still create that gap of time, but you know, whenever there's a gap of time, right? Whenever the Lord is creating that space, that is gonna allow the Lord some opportunity, some things to change. It's kind of like when we read with Jonah earlier this week, when Jonah said in 40 days, Nineveh is gonna be destroyed, right? If the Lord wanted to just destroy them immediately, he could have, but there's that gap of time. And so when God is giving us a gap of time, all right, that means that there's some provisions being made. There's some things that he's working out and working on in that time, you guys. So follow the story. So again, at this point, Vashti has decided let's go all the way back just to keep you guys up to what's going on. King Ahasuerus has this huge banquet for his officials and the who's who of the who's who. Queen Vashti, his wife, she has a banquet for the women separately. King Ahasuerus wants her to come before his officials and all of the who's who of the who, basically naked with just her royal robe on and her crown. Vashti refuses. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. I'm sure she didn't want to humiliate herself. She didn't want to humiliate him. We can tell that Queen Vashti was a woman of class, of standards, and also she was brave, to refuse the king. She had standards and class, and we love that. She's a great, I don't know, we don't read a lot about Vashti, but just her refusing to go before them naked and in that state says a lot about her character and her standards, right? So King Ahasuerus gets upset. At this point, he feels like she's disrespecting the king. She didn't follow the king's command. So he decides that he wants someone else to be in her place, right? So that's where Esther gets introduced, and Mordecai. Now, Mordecai, they say, is some sort of an official in the service of the king, right? And so he gets introduced. He's Jewish, and he has been caring for Esther because her mom and dad died. So they're both Jewish. They have a Jewish background, all right? So boom. So that's what's going on now. And so Esther goes before the king. The king finds favor with Esther. He finds her beautiful. And so she becomes the queen. She's queen now. So Esther is the queen. He holds a huge banquet for her. She's the queen. Everything's all good, right? However, Mordecai, right? There's two of the king's eunuchs, or eunuchs, but eunuchs, that's how you say it, eunuchs, who are basically conspiring against him because they're mad. Now, with the eunuchs, these were people that attended to the king, like attended to his harem. So they were angry with him. We don't know if they were jealous. I'm kind of feeling that maybe they were jealous. I don't know what happened, but all we know is they was conspiring to attack King Ahasuerus. And so Mordecai saves him, okay, by, telling Queen Esther that, hey, they planning on killing your husband, like they're conspiring. And so Mordecai tells Queen Esther, and Esther tells the king. The men get hanged. And so this is recorded in the book of the Chronicles in the king's presence that Mordecai saved him. All right. So boom. So now we got Haman. So Haman is promoted. Okay. He is promoted. And he's established, so the king Ahasuerus promotes Haman. Okay. And so Haman is an Agagite. Okay. Remember Agag, which is the same king that Saul refused to destroy. Okay, so we're dealing with issues right now because of something hundreds of years ago that Saul refused to listen to the Lord. And so now we're dealing with a Agagite here because Saul had allowed him to live, for a little while. But either way, so that's where we are right now. So Haman is promoted. Mordecai, which is Esther's What is he to Esther? He took, is it Esther's uncle? No, is that her cousin? Hold on, y'all. Let me get this right. He was the guardian of Esther, his uncle's daughter, his cousin. That's their cousins, because my uncle's daughter would be my cousin. So yeah. So anyways, they're cousins, okay? So yeah, so Mordecai, he's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not bowing down to you. I'm not worshiping you. I'm just not doing it. And so now Haman is angry, and Haman has decided, instead of just getting rid of Mordecai, he is going to annihilate the Jews, period. All the Jews. Now remember, Esther is a Jew. Okay, so just remember that part. So yes, but we see the Lord working all of this. Okay, so anyways, so we get to the point where Haman, where we're at now, is where Haman has cast the lots, and so it's landed on 12 months. So in 12 months, the Jews are going to be out of here. It's going to be a wrap. So yeah, that's where we are. So it says, then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of all other people, and they do not observe the king's laws. Therefore, it is not in the king's interest to tolerate them and let them stay here. If it pleases the king, let it be decreed that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who carry out the king's business to put into the king's treasuries. Okay? So, what Haman is essentially saying, he said, there is a certain people scattered abroad and is dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different than those of all other people, and they do not observe the king's laws. So essentially, what Haman is saying is that, hey, King Ahasuerus, we have a problem. We have a group of people, they're a problem. Their laws are not the same as your laws. They're scattered abroad, like scattered in your kingdom. So they're spread out. So they're gonna cause other people probably to kind of follow their way as well. They're amongst your people, so it's a possibility that they could influence other people's actions, right? So essentially, Haman is saying, hey, listen, I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who carry out the king's business to put into the king's treasuries. I will pay these people to get rid of the Jews for you, King Ahasuerus, because you know what? They're going to be a problem. Their laws are not the same as your laws. They don't listen. They're disrespectful, and they're scattered amongst your people. So they're going to cause some problems. So that's what Haman is saying. So then the king removed his signet ring from his hand, and the signet ring is the special ring that is used to seal letters. All right, and gave it to Haman, the son of okay, Hamedatha, 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 y'all follow me, the Agite, the enemy of the Jews. Okay. The king said to Haman, the silver is given to you and the people also to do with them as you please. So basically, King Ahasuerus says, okay, do what you want to do. You do whatever you see that is right. All right. So boom. So the king's scribes, secretaries, were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and it was written just as Haman commanded to the king's satraps, chief rulers, and to the governors who were over each province, and to the officials of each people, each province according to its script, writing, each people according to their own language, being written in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet ring. Letters were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate. Okay, you guys, so my apologies. So let me kind of back up a little bit. And one second, y'all. I got a phone call and um one second. Let me tell my sister. I will call her shortly. All right, you guys. All right, so letters were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, women and children, in one day, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. So that should have been around March 7th, 473 BC, and to seize their belongings as plunder. Okay, a copy of the edict is to be decreed as law in every province, was published to all the people so that they would be ready for this day. The couriers went out hurriedly by order of the king, and the decree was issued at the citadel in Susa. And while the king and Haman sat down to drink, the city of Susa was perplexed by the unusual and alarming decree. So at this point, you guys, the scribes basically, they were summoned, and these letters were issued and were written and issued, to each people according to their own language, and they were written in the name of King Ahasuerus. So basically sent out letting them know, hey guys, y'all are going to be destroyed in about 12 months. So just to let you know. Oh, and by the way, so just imagine like how how off guard that would catch a person. Like, just imagine that. You, because I'm sure these people didn't know what was going on in the kingdom. Like, they're not here to know what's going on between, they know that there's just this long-standing rival between Jews and the Amalekites, right? But I mean, they weren't in the kingdom, so they didn't know what was going on between Mordecai and Haman. So to get this letter, I can imagine that it was like, what? Like, what did I do wrong? So so now we are in chapter 4 now. And again, Esther has 10 chapters, you guys. Okay. Um yeah, so let's see. Chapter 4. Okay, so you know what, y'all? Listen, here's what I'm actually going to do. I am going to go on ahead and put a bookmark in this right now. And we are going to go on ahead and finish this. We may do this later this evening, tomorrow, or whenever our next Bible study session will be. Then that is when we'll pretty much pick up where we left off and finish this. Okay, so we're basically at the part where these letters have been sent out and people are perplexed. The it's an unusual and alarming decree. They don't know what's going on. It's caught them by surprise. They are stressed, oppressed, and depressed. Okay. So yeah, so we want to just kind of ponder on that a little bit. And also in the meantime, you guys can go and read Esther if you'd like. But just kind of think about it so far, like how the Lord has been moving throughout this entire story. But this is the only book in the Bible where his name is never mentioned. Okay, this is the only book, so just kind of keep that in mind. But either way, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, thumbs up the video. Leave me a nice comment down below saying, hey, Jazz. And yes, I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.